session today. So every week we are going to meet up. This is the time for the satsang 8 to 9. We would really appreciate if there are other speakers too who can join in, so that there isn't the monotony of me having to, or you having to see me every time. Having said that, there are so many topics I would like to share, and I hope I can bring some value to the time that you are catering for yourselves. So, today's topic is really something which is important from my perspective, the way I understand it, which is that it's like a captainless ship, or a directionless kind of a journey. You can say it in any way. A directionless journey is one where concept is not there. For instance, if I am to very quickly come to the conclusions here, that let's say the Brahmanical thinking, or the Brahmana, the one who actually conceptualizes what dharma is, let us say, is not there. If the concept is lacking, then naturally we are not going to go in any direction at all. And once concept is laid, there should be the leadership. And for that, we have been having Kshatriyas in the past who were doing, in my view, an excellent job for a very, very long time. Mind you, there have been turmoils as well, and there have been upheavals when there were times when certain Kshatriya rulers had to be kind of defeated or erased. If you look at how Parashurama had been going about. So it is without any doubt that we need to appreciate the role of Varnashrama Dharma, Varna Dharma. And that is where we will be spending some time today in talking about. When I say who among us are suited for the role, we're going to look at the Varna Dharma. We are also going to look at the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamo gunas. And we need to really look at where do we lie, and can we, some of us, show up our hand to say that I am the guna karma kshatriya. I'm using the word guna karma here, and that will also be discussed later on. All right. So I'm Dr. Srinivas Sastry Malladi. I'm actually a psychiatrist by profession, and I'm a follower of Sanatana Dharma. I have been researching in the last decade, particularly of utility of Sanatana Dharma in our day-to-day welfare. And I have actually come to the conclusion that it is an excellent path, not just for an individual, for a family, for a society, and for the entire universal well-being. So, and I would like to make a case every time I meet up my audience through what I assume, what I hope that I'm articulating a logical argument when I present this case for you all. So I'm showing a slide here. So this is for you to respond. Can you tell me what you're seeing here? Anybody? What are you seeing here?
An entrepreneur?
Yeah.
Startup?
So it's a startup. So what is happening there? If it's a startup and there is a guy who is sitting there, setting up a startup, I guess. So he's doing a lot of what?
He's
lot of background work.
He's doing a lot of background work. He's setting up I guess the entire idea of the startup.
Creating a process and a plan.
Yeah, that's true. And what do we have here?
Person who's
startup.
really independent or fine.
Sorry, I got two people. Okay. Can you say again, one after the other?
The investor.
Investor,
well, is required.
Yes, spot on. So the investor seems to like the idea of the startup, I guess, right? So there's this investor who has come, and then what do you have here? There are a few people in white, and there's one guy in the red, and they seem to be
Leader and
yes.
followers.
So we have a leader, or at least leaders. We have a chief executive officer and a manager, and then there are followers. And then who are these people here?
The worker bees.
Yeah. So does it look familiar? I mean, if you look at any company for that matter, I mean, let's say if Steve Jobs had, had conceptualized Apple computers, he must have, we know it's not about he must have, we know that he sat in his garage for several years, and then finally, when he got the concept right, I'm sure the investors came interested in his idea, and then the company got built. And when the company gets built, there are people appointed to lead the show, and then a um, majority of the manpower is actually workforce, as in the labor. You may call it labor, intellectual labor sitting at the desk, but whichever, if you take a company, 90% of its kind of workforce is basically labor, and a small proportion would remain the investors and the conceptualizers and the leaders. So does it look familiar with what we are talking about today? The concept of, does it align with what I'm hoping to kind of convey today? Where is it heading us to? So you have the conceptualizer, you have the investor, you have the leaders, and the huge segment of workforce. What are we talking about here?
An organization, or
Yes. So can you actually think of anything in this world which is only going to rely on only the one segment of these four people? Can any organization just run on workforce alone? Can anything run on just investors alone? Does it work like that? Or does it have,
no?
and it has to have all these four, right? Would you agree?
Yes, it has to have all these four, and all these four do all of the things in a different way.
Yeah. What do others say? Would you agree that the four components need to be there, or are inevitably part of any organizational setup? You take military, for instance. You have a huge force of infantry and all that, and then you have a few leaders. Somebody has to pay their salaries, right? So there is somebody paying the salaries, and somebody sitting and figuring out what are the new kind of weaponry that are going to be used, how they're going to be researched and designed. You take anything. So what are we seeing here? We're actually seeing Brahmana, Vaishya, Shudra, Kshatriyas, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What do others have to say? I would like to see whether anybody disagrees with what I'm saying. Does anybody have anything else to say about it?
Yeah, I think when you're talking about Brahmana, Shudra, Vaishya, you're talking about their purpose, right?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Or
We'll not even go there yet. Now you can see that you name any organization, you see any organization, you need to have somebody who thinks and conceptualizes. You need to have somebody who leads the show. And you have a huge workforce who are employed, who are salaried. And then you have the investors. So you have now those four components. For me, it very much mimics, or kind of it looks like the Varna system for me. It's an immediate match for me. I don't need to think very hard. And then we can look at what Varna system is, fair enough. But I'm sure we agree that there is no organization, no setup in the way we can see the world, which does not have these four components. So the others have not responded. I take it that everybody is in agreement. All right. So anyway, so let's look at how the Varna system actually kind of comes into play here. See, we value human diversity. And I also am making a claim here that Sanatana Dharma is actually beyond caste and religion. Now, what is caste and what is jati and what is varna? So in Purusha Sukta and Bhagavad Gita, varnas are defined. In Bhagavad Gita, you have Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam Gunakarma Vibhagashaha. So there are four varnas I have designed. Guna and karma based they are. They are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. Now, naturally, we need to understand what these are. And Brahmana is the one who is immersed in divine pursuit and he is a teacher. Forget about the teaching aspect, but the first and foremost is that he is immersed in divine pursuit. Now, Kshatriya, by definition, is going to be somebody who has to lead the flock. He has to be, therefore, prepared for adversities, fight, and that's the role of the Kshatriya. And Vaishya, of course, investment, and Shudra, all employment and all art forms. Okay. Now, naturally, who is the Kshatriya protecting? He's protecting everyone else, Brahmana, Vaishya, and Shudra, because they're just getting around doing their own things. They are not, they would do their things to their best ability when they have a safe and a secure environment which is nicely protected by Kshatriya. Only then it is possible. So when we talk about how these four actually are going to be based on guna and karma, what are those guna and karma? Now, guna is your swabhava or your innate nature. But how does your innate nature get built? It gets built out of the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamo guna. If you have a sattva predominant personality is actually one of devatas, whereas rajas predominant loka is the bhuloka. So by and large, most of us do have rajoguna. But among us, if we are highly evolved spiritually and we are heading in that direction of almost like moksha, we can say that though that segment has sattva guna. That's a very small percentage. So the majority actually would have predominant rajoguna. What we don't wish to have is a predominant tamoguna, which is like a very inert kind of, or it's a inertia laden kind of heavy kind of slumber. So we ideally don't want that. But if we are not active, if I'm not active, I'm not going to sit here and do this webinar for you. If I'm not active, I'm not going to spend this week, for instance, preparing the slides or getting up to go to work, earning my money, and then taking care of my family. It doesn't work. So what it logically means is that rajoguna is an important factor. But what we also hear is that if somebody has a lot of rajoguna, it leads to anxiety, agitation, aggression, and unwanted kind of desires. And therefore, it is not a great guna to be in if you are actually longing for moksha. Now, this is the spiritual lesson we listen. Now, I don't want to confuse anybody here who is actually on a spiritual path, but let's take a step back. A lot of us who are in the spiritual kind of a path, we like to attain moksha, but it's not a given. It's not as if it's just going to come like that. I can guarantee you that it's not going to happen in this life of Srinivasa. I'm not going to get moksha this life. I'm certain about it. Okay. I'm possibly going to be in the right path so that I can get more nicer janmas, finally I'll reach the stage of that absolute sattvikaness and then attain moksha. Those who attain moksha are almost, I can count to be less than 1%. 1 in 100 are going to get moksha cross-sectionally at this point of time. So which means 99 of us are going to get our births again for sure. Okay. So if that's the case, why are we talking about it? It makes sense over later on. So Rajoguna is going to be important in the equation for us to be fighting for our own welfare, our own dharma. If you don't have the Rajoguna, there is no way we can fight. When you have Tamoguna, you are apathetic, inert, lazy, and it's almost like you're escaping the responsibility to do anything whatsoever. So this is where I want to talk. I hope I have made some kind of gave some clarity on how the gunas play a role in how our personalities are shaped, and that is the guna on which varna gets displayed too. For instance, if I have a predominantly sattvika guna, predominantly, then I'm a brahmana, and I'm actually then now eligible to sit, do all that is required for me to attain that elevated state and go towards moksha. But if I have predominant rajoguna, I would either be kshatriya, I would be a Sudra, or I would be a Vaishya. And of course, tamoguna will be, nobody will have a pure sattvika or a pure rajasika or pure tamasika. There will be a combination. So I'm talking about the predominant states. Okay. I hope I'm clear on that. People may differ to some extent in how they explain these things, but this is the way I understand it. Now, let's look at the other component, which is the karma, which is the past lives baggage. And it is your past lives which are going to dictate what birth you are taking this time. So when somebody says, I am by birth a Brahmana, there are two ways to understand it. I will say that if it is by inheritance, because your parents were Brahmana and therefore now you are a Brahmana, that is by inheritance. But if I say by birth I'm a Brahmana, of course, when I'm born, I chose this birth because I have certain baggage to clear. The ultimate goal is whenever I take human birth, I'm actually hoping to utilize this opportunity to use my buddhi, my viveka, to do all those right things to attain moksha. But having taken birth, I have to face the challenges in day-to-day life in this world, and therefore it's not possible all the time. And the circumstances may mean that I have to fight a dharmic battle to make sure that my life goes in a right direction. And then in the process, I may end up accumulating some more karma, which is inevitable. It is inevitable. We may accumulate more karma, but the hope is that you have done the right things as much as possible to be on the right path, hoping the next life will be also destined for you to be on the right track. That's as much as we need to think about. Okay. So this is how karma gets a role to play in what varna you end up being in. Is that clear so far? Any questions? Anybody wishes to say anything?
Yeah, it is clear.
Okay.
The concept you said that sattvic behavior leads to moksha. Did I get it correctly?
Sattvika predominance. Sattvika predominance.
That I don't agree totally.
Okay.
Because in their own way, suppose the Raja was there, his dharma is to protect people.
Yeah.
Okay. So does it mean he may not attain moksha?
That's why I said Satvika predominant. So what there is
Predominant.
nothing to say that the Raja does not have Satvika predominance. He has
Predominance.
to abide by dharma, and he has to fight battles. He has to possibly take some decisions which are going to be seemingly cruel, because people have to be executed for, punished for whatever. So what about the karma from that? So by and large, theoretically, we can say that we hear that anybody can attain moksha
That's what I understand.
whichever phase of life they are in. But I would practically see that the major proportion of those who are going to attain moksha will have reached bahunam janmanam ante. Let us not forget that. Why would he have that bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate? It is after so many births, one after the other, having done the right things. That is where I want to emphasize the role and responsibility of every Hindu in following Sanatana Dharma. Primary goal is to attain moksha, good. But how many what's the percentage? 1%, which means 99 of us are not going to get moksha this time. So if that's the case, have I failed? If I only kind of, I want to get moksha, I want to sit under the tree, or I want to do, all the sattvika responsibilities to make sure that nobody is troubled by me. I am not getting out of my comfort zone, for instance. And then I don't get moksha because I have done certain wrong things in the process. Wrong things happen because of akarma, where I had to do certain things, like for instance, standing up for dharma. I didn't pick up a weapon to fight the particular war, for instance, or I didn't side by the right people when they were in need of help. What is the use of me only entertaining sattvika when the circumstances required me to actually also exercise some of rajasika guna? So am I going to get moksha for sure? I doubt it. So if that is the case, my take therefore is that your primary goal should be to follow dharma, do the right thing. Whatever is the right thing, as you have a kind of debated in your mind using your viveka, do the right thing. God will take care of when you get moksha. You don't need to be impatient about getting moksha this time, because he clearly says in Bhagavad Gita, bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. So it takes so many lives by the time a jnanavan actually kind of reaches me. Yes, Sonia ji.
Yeah, I think, I agree a little bit about what you're saying. And I've been trying to read and understand Bhagavad Gita as well. It has 18 chapters, as most of us know, and it talks about dharma and how to give your service with the best intention, but not worry about the fruits. The fruits of that service should be offered to God, so that any kind of you do the work of God in service to God, offer the fruits to God, so that no karma comes back to you also in that way. I think that is also a little bit of sattvic thinking. And I wanted you to expand on that also a little bit.
Absolutely. I agree. I think what we shouldn't mix up and confuse is that by jati, see, that is why we have to be very clear. By jati, if I am a Brahmana, as in my family, my parents were Brahmana, or why am I only talking about Brahmana every time? My parents were, Vaishya, or my parents were Shudra. And in those circumstances made me be born in that particular jati. Okay, because we have had the jati consolidation over a period of time and lack of transfer from one jati to the other. We have to accept that that has been happening. But I don't think that is guna karma varna. Guna karma varna is still relevant to you as an individual, and you would have been having, let us say, for instance, I may have been born as a Brahmana, but I have a predominant Rajasika guna or a predominant Tamasika guna, for instance, let us say. Okay, so we are not talking about the jati, Brahmana jati, Shudra jati, Vaishya here. We're talking about guna karma Brahmana. That is why I made it very clear. The guna karma Brahmana are the ones who are going to be at the best chance of attaining moksha, because they have reached that stage after so many lives. And that guna karma Brahmana can be there anywhere in the world. There are so many cultures which do not have the Varna classification. Does it mean that they don't attain moksha? They do. It is not just we Hindus are going to attain moksha, right? It could be anybody in the world. So they are guna karma. They are guna karma based. We have to accept that it's going to be predominantly Brahmana as per guna karma, because the guna is sattvika. Then I have to explain again. Unfortunately, because we have the jati system which plays upon our mind so much, it confuses us with the concept of how we as individuals may still express our independent of which jati we belong to. So I think it's going to be tough work, particularly those coming from a Hindu background, because we are so ingrained with this. It's not easy for us to kind of separate those two things. If we actually just kind of let us erase the background kind of impressions, then we can start seeing these things a little differently. That's the way I understand it, but it's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. We should understand each one of us have all the three types of gunas. Sorry, three types of sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic gunas, and certain of them predominate the others. Maybe that is easier to understand.
So I was reading Sankhya Karikas, for instance. Sankhya Karika is based on Kapila Maharshi's Sankhya Yoga.
Popular.
And in that, it was mentioned that devatas have predominant sattvika guna. And I've already mentioned that earlier. And those the earth dwellers are predominantly going to have a rajasika guna. So when we say predominant, therefore, it's not to say that devatas are only sattvika. They may also have a mixture of other things too. So that's the way. It's an interplay. Okay. Okay. So let's move on. I'm skipping these slides because I think it's self-explanatory. We already covered a lot of it. We'll just skip. Yeah. So I mentioned about Bhagavad Gita shloka of Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam. That's the shloka here. So there are 4 categories, and according to the qualities and the activities, I have actually kind of created these 4, is what Sri Krishna Paramatma says. And I keep saying this, that Sanatana Dharma is beyond caste and religion. What do I mean by that? See, Varna has inspired jatis. There is no doubt about it. Jati system is a social structure of occupation-based division of labor. And it worked for India for centuries. Like any system, it has its benefits and problems. You take any system in the world, any system for that matter, it has benefits and problems. When the benefits predominate, the system continues. When the benefits are now less and the problems overpower, the system is abandoned. It is as simple as that. Whether it is a social system or a scientific program or a whatever, health, medication, this is how it works. But we've been holding on to this social system until as long as it worked. How do we know it worked? As in more benefits, less problems. We are only talking about more benefits, less problems. We're not saying no problems. We know it worked because there was significant social cohesion for a very long time. No matter what the leftists or the such authors may say, or the others who may have agendas, we can, looking at, I was reading through Chanakya's Arthashastra, I could very well clearly see how the society was then. It was functioning in unison. They were all working together very well. They had a system. It was helping their economy. It was allowing the Kshatriyas to do their jobs. The Shudras were able to kind of perform their occupations and still have a good life. Now you take another aspect. Until possibly 18th or 19th century, India's GDP or economy, the share of economy, had consistently been very good from many, thousands of years onwards. Now, who has been paying taxes? Taxes were being paid by Vaishyas and Sudras alone. Who was collecting taxes? Kshatriya was collecting taxes, which means Kshatriya was not running businesses. It is Vaishyas and Shudras who were running businesses, and Shudras were actually into various art forms and various kind of skill sets and workforce. If they were able to pay taxes, that means they were earning enough income to be able to pay taxes. So therefore, the four segments have been working fine. They were working fine, but there were problems. And of course, the problems in the last couple of 100 years have become a lot more troublesome, whereas benefits are less. Now you tell us, should we still hold on to a social structure which is having more problems and less benefits? We don't need to. Logic says that we shouldn't. But this is jati we are talking about. This is not varna. Earlier, I have made a case that varna is inevitable in any structure, any structure that you take, any organization. You can't, escape from it. Whereas jati structure is something you can let go. You don't need to hang on to it just because it makes me feel like I'm a part of a group. It is complicated. I have another topic where I actually make a case that, hold on, it's not time yet to just let go yet. That is another topic. I'll come to it at a later time. There is a reason why that also has to be debated. But in principle, jati system has to be let go of. Okay, I hope I can go to the next slide here. So in current society, jatis have lost relevance as occupations are no longer confined to within the family, or in other words, by inheritance. However, there are other reasons for it to still retain its superficial structure. It's mostly from political patronage. All right. So let's move on. And varnas are based on individual nature. Hence, they do not undergo change with time. Varna system will not change with time. The varna that an individual chooses in this life is dependent on karma. Okay, we looked at it. But jati, being a social structure, is dependent on time. If the era is finished, it is obsolete, get rid of it. It has no place. It may be replaced by a new jati system, by the way. The new jati system could be doctors class, engineers class, and so on and so forth. Doctors' children becoming doctors again, doctors marrying doctors, It's a jati system too. It's a different social structure. The only difference is the jati system we inherited and we talk about has been kind of extremely rigid. But the new jati system is a lot more fluid. Yes, Sonia ji.
Yeah, I think what you mean to say is that the Varna system is based on the individual nature, hence does not undergo change in time. You're talking about the system change versus the individual nature can change, a person's nature can change, and the Varna can change with time, but
No, this
not the
time, this
system.
time is, yeah. So this time is not about one individual's lifetime. This time is, I'm talking about the constant universal time.
Yeah, the system and the system of um, the climbing up the ladder, so to speak.
Yeah. So jati, as I said, it is not relevant in this 20th century, for instance. It was relevant in 19th century.
Yeah,
Or, for
agreed.
instance, I'm a psychiatrist. Asylum system of psychiatry was prevalent in the earlier part of 20th century. It was prevalent. It was needed. It was beneficial. It is obsolete now. It is gotten rid of. Does not appear anywhere. There are no asylums anymore. That is the nature of a societal structure. It has relevance, time limited relevance, and it is obviously man made.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so that's the difference. Okay, I hope I have set the stage for it so we can move ahead with the topic. I have arrived at the topic now. So we need a balanced application of Varna Dharma. The idea is, are we at this point of time equipped as a society to protect Sanatana Dharma? My answer is no, we are not. We are not actually applying the Varna concept for our own survival or for the survival of Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma survival in humans' mind. Otherwise, Sanatana Dharma is always going to be there. Nobody can do anything about it, anything to it. But there should be a balance. I believe, from what I understood, Kshatram is as important as Brahmanyam in service of Sanatana Dharma. These are the two things which often are talked about. A lot is left to the Brahmana to actually direct, please give me guidance, kind of thing. Again, we're talking about the Guna Karma Brahmana. Please give me the guidance. So there were a lot of rishis who have come about, who have given guidance, who have shown us the way. They have been great teachers down the line. In fact, our Janaka Maharaja himself was a great teacher too, wasn't he? So, the conceptualizers or the teachers who lay the foundation and give us the structure are seen to be extremely important. But at the same time, they will not be able to do anything. They cannot actually kind of work freely if they were not protected. So this is therefore my case that Kshatram is equally important. It's not to be taken lightly at all. Unfortunately, the modern day, let's call it Hindu society, the Kshatriya is not to be seen at all. Is not to be seen at all. I believe that I've come to understand that there's a three-layer model of sustenance of Sanatana Dharma. And how does it work? Let's say I need the rishis to continue their research in the lab, because our rishis were exactly that. They were researchers. And they're going to continue the research. But where am I protecting my rishis in the modern world? Where are they protected? I think possibly they are protected. The best place for them right now is United States of America. I'm sure that is where they are protected the most. Perhaps not in India anyway. The political climate doesn't kind of favor it. So we need to have the research and development go on without any kind of disturbance. And that is why I say innermost layer of continuous, undisturbed research and development, teaching. And I've included workforce as well, because if the workforce is not protected as well, the system doesn't run. Okay. So the second layer, the middle layer, is one of protection, a continuous protection of the research and development and the teaching and the workforce. So their job, so now we are already talking about Kshatriyas. So the Kshatriyas, this layer actually ensures that the atmosphere is created, protected, sustained for continuous knowledge progression. Okay. And the outer layer of a counter defense is important, because there are always the external threats of adharma trying to kind of intervene and spoil or disturb the research and development wing, let us say. Okay, so the outer layer of Kshatriya are going to do the counter defense, and we'll be very clear here. It is not an offensive. We're not talking about offensive, because if I'm a follower of Dharma, I'm not starting anything. I'm follower of Dharma. But the unfortunate thing is that when somebody comes to attack us, my counter defense is not there and I'm exposed. So that shouldn't be happening. So the third layer, the outermost layer, should be of a counter defense of all the external threats of adharma. Okay. So if we actually have this model in place, we will be able to kind of bring about a significant change in how we practice, understand, practice, and propagate Sanatana Dharma. If we don't do this, the current situation will continue and perhaps even weaken the benefit that globe can actually receive from Sanatana Dharma. Let's understand that our Sanatana Dharma is for everyone. It is for the welfare of humankind. It's a welfare of everybody's kind of everyone who actually is part of the universe. It's not just even humans for that matter. So for that to be prevalent and for that to be kind of available for everyone to access and also enjoy from it, we should have, I'm repeating myself, I can see, but it is definitely the two layers of Kshatriya that are going to help us. Okay, so I'm bringing in cricket here. Australian cricket team, what is special about them? Those who are cricket lovers can help me with this. What is special about Australian cricket team?
They are the most successful.
Okay, they're most successful. Why? Why are they most successful?
Because maybe I'd say they are like more passionate,
Yes.
or they win more trophies.
Yeah. They're passionate and what? Sorry?
Because of they're passionate, so that's the reason why they've won more trophies.
Sure. Okay, they're passionate. What else?
And they work as a team.
Yeah, okay, that's great. They work as a team. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. What about others? Does anybody else have anything to add about what is special about them?
Is it that their origins are from different countries?
No, I'm not looking at that at all. No, I'm just looking at the team mechanics of it, the way they go about, the philosophy, their attitude towards their work or the approach, that kind of thing. Are there no cricket lovers at all here? Okay.
No matter what play may be, they dynamically build up the strategies and they stick to the target to win the match ultimately.
Yeah. Yes, they do that.
They're very aggressive.
They're very aggressive. Thank you. I wanted to hear that. Where does the aggression come from? Does it come from Satvika or Tamasika Guna?
It is Rajo.
It has
Rajoguna.
to obviously come from Rajoguna. So anyway, so they're aggressive, they're passionate, they have good strategies, they finish the job, they don't leave it for opponents to turn up again and show their head again. They don't. They are ruthless. They'll just finish it off. They are not going to let you go. That's what defined. I was a fan of Steve Waugh, by the way. So in cricket, I myself was a medium pace bowler and opening batsman. So, and I grew up when Steve Waugh was in his great form. So, and Steve was shaped the way Australians, team started to think, believe in themselves. How do they compare to the Indian team? Sonia ji says, well, for me, benchmark is Australian cricket team. So I'm not
When I
going
say
to.
compare, I don't mean by points and scores and all that. In
Yeah.
this way of thinking, what are we missing?
Okay, I'll talk about the way I understand
Yeah.
Australian team, and then we'll see whether the others. I believe others have definitely started being Australian team thereafter, but I'm not too sure whether they're consistent. But Australian team does come back, bounce back. Even the weakest team still can manage to beat the opponents. They're relatively a lot weaker now compared to what they used to be, the grand team that it used to be in the past. But they still managed to win. See, I think, as I said, there is a ruthlessness there. There's a belief in self. They bounce back from tough situations. There's a lot of preparation. There's innovation as well, and they defeat the opponent thoroughly. They don't just, as I said, they don't allow the opponents to swing back into action, and they make critical choices even if seemingly, there's a missing word there. If it's even if seemingly adharmic, they don't mind because their dharma needs to win. And when I talk about it, there are two examples I actually kind of would like to share. One very recently in the Ashes. I don't want to bore you with the cricket technicalities here. And the other was one of the guys in the photograph here, Steve Smith. Steve Smith was caught for tampering the ball or something like that. He was disciplined by them for the wrongdoing. Australian cricket board has banned him for 1 year, but he was not forgotten. He was brought back again with the same amount of care, a sense of brotherhood. And when Pat Cummins was absent for one test, he was even given, captaincy as a stand-in captaincy. That's the level of brotherhood that I have seen. The kind of, a stick for my dharma. He is Steve Smith for them. He's one of the best practitioners of their dharma being cricket, and I should protect him at any cost. But I will make sure that he is also kind of not going to be left off for what he has done. And that's the beauty of it. Now, when does this cohesion come into play? When you have the right understanding of what you're fighting for, what is the dharma that you are actually kind of standing up for and fighting for. Okay. So I think it's due to ingrained following of wrong example for decades. Which one is it? Sorry, Vinayji, which one are you referring to?
No, I mean, for decades, it's like people have grown up listening to the stories of if you get slapped on one cheek, show the other cheek. And
Absolutely.
that logic and live in poverty as if it's a virtue.
Yeah.
It's totally, people are ingrained since decades, which has already led to partition of our homeland.
Absolutely.
And absolutely, because the Kshatriya part of Hinduism has been culled deliberately and is leading to destruction of our culture.
Yeah, I think you really hit it the right place. You absolutely nailed it. It is so sad, isn't it? It is so sad because the more you read about dharma, the more you go through the scriptures, at no point do you actually kind of have any concept where you have to let go of your kind of human instincts. In the sense, there is a purpose why you have to be a grihastha. In fact, the best way I can understand Sanatana Dharma is Sanatana Dharma is our cosmic journey, but at this point of time, you are materialistically supposed to fulfill responsibilities. So you marry the cosmic goal with the material existence. And for material existence, you still have to fight. You still have to fight your daily battles through with your own kind of gunas, your own kind of purusharthas. um, you have to show up every day. You can't just escape every day. You have to do the karma. You can't be sitting there doing no karma. That's not allowed. So all this is very clearly indicating that you have to have the approach of following dharma to make this world a better place, but at the same time the core essence has to be one of your cosmic journey. So I'm really kind of in agreement with what Vinayji has to say. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that now people, it's very fashionable to say all paths lead to the one God. But I mean, the best example I can give is from our Puranas. At the time of Samudra Mantana, the Rakshasas were following one path. The gods themselves prevented them from getting Amrita for a reason. And
Yeah.
all our gods, in their hands, if you see astras and everything,
Yeah.
and what does it signify? It's you have to fight for justice throughout. Even the gods themselves had to fight. But now people say, no, all paths lead to everything, and no matter what somebody does, accept it, and because ultimately you'll reach the divine. That's just
Yeah.
plain defeatism.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to come into that segment now. So there is a time and place for everything. So there is a time for Sattvaguna, but if it is not time for Sattvaguna, don't show it. It may be time for Rajaguna, use it. So it's like that. So you know, how do I know whether I'm actually in a Sattvika state or a Tamasika state? Uh, I need to give this explanation because a lot of us, when we are in a comfort zone, we are actually kind of slowed down, almost like into a state of hibernation, and we think that is Sattvika. Actually, it is Tamasika. It is a slumber, like how we talk about the the perpetual slumber that a Hindu is in nowadays. The perpetual slumber is seemingly thought to be a Sattvika state. They think it is a Sattvika state. He may be actually basically sleeping on the bed saying, oh, I'm meditating, for instance. It's an easy analogy that I can give. He's actually sleeping, but he's actually saying, I'm meditating. So the sleep state is a tamasika state, a slumber. And but the sattvika state of meditation is an active effort to kind of stay in that unison with the divine. There's a huge difference. There are the two opposite poles with Rajasika Guna in between there. Okay, so there is a lot of confusion among the Hindu folk about whether they are in a Sattvika state or actually a Tamasika state. Predominantly, most of us are happy to be, it's like, it is easy to be in an air-conditioned room. Why would I want to kind of sweat outside, for instance? Yeah, it's a comfort zone. So comfort zone is tamasika in nature. As it says here, it's beautiful place, but nothing grows there. Okay, it makes no progress. You are wasting your life. This life opportunity. Let us say you come into this world, taking birth. Before you took birth, you said to yourself, I'm going to set things right by utilizing this human birth this time. And after you come here, you end up into a comfort zone, for instance, or do the wrong things around. Or, well, let's say if you're in a comfort zone, nothing grows and you're not making any progress. Even imagine yourself, you're sitting from morning to evening, doing nothing but watching television. Is there any progress there? There's no progress, right? It's similar to that. But it's an easy place to be in because I'm being entertained. I'm not troubling anybody. I'm being entertained. You may end up saying, am I troubling you? I'm only watching television. I'm not coming in your way, right? But that's of no use. So that's
Sir,
the
one
kind
question.
of.
One question.
Yeah.
So are you teaching? So because these three gunas and all these come from Samkhya Darshan, right? You would know that, which is philosophy part of Advaita. My question is, are you are you propagator of Advaita or Dvaita? Because there's so many darshan in philosophy.
I personally don't go that far at all. One
But
of the
these
things
tamas, rajas, these are from the Sankhya Darshan. They were given by Kapil Rishi.
doesn't matter, does it? Because they are spoken of in. I mean, I don't know how different. Frankly, I don't know the differences between how they are discussed in Advaita, and Visishta Advaita. I don't know. The way I would kind of usually go about working around this knowledge is I try and stick to the basics alone, where we all meet, and after the meeting point, I don't usually go into the discussions of the different paths because it is then left for individual research, and people have come with their own kind of understanding. So obviously there will be differences afterwards. So for me, it is a very basic concept here. I'm hoping I'm not saying the wrong things, but if I'm saying the wrong things, yes, please do correct me. I'll be happy to learn.
No, I'm not saying you're saying the wrong thing. I'm saying you're saying the one philosophy, but there are other philosophies as well. And this philosophy is fine. I'm not against or anything, but I'm saying
Yeah,
Sanatana
I'm
Dharma is
not. I'm.
explaining,
I
right?
actually,
Which comes.
I never read the three differently. All I can say is I'm also one of those modern day Sanatanis, where a lot of my understanding comes from my own inner kind of quest, and then I look at what evidence there is out there. So if I read Western, for instance, Brian Weiss's books like Many Masters, Many Lives, or Michael Newton's Destiny of Soul, and so on, that is very near to what I have seen in Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam. So I really didn't read beyond that. I haven't read the Upanishads yet. Neither did I read the Vedas. I'm in the process. I've read the Sankhya recently. But the honest answer is, I don't think we need to read much to practice and understand Sanatana Dharma. Because my job, frankly, through what I do is I want to keep things simple for everyone to have a common ground to understand. And beyond that, it is for each individual to practice the way they wish to. So, yeah, my learning is still ongoing. That's all I can say.
Okay, I mean, sounds good to me, but yeah, I have a different opinion, but that's some other time. Thank you.
Sure, thanks. So yeah, so the comfort zone is tamasic in nature, and yeah, that's where we were talking about. So it is nice and safe, right? It's safe and stress-free, but no work gets done there. So the myth is that peace lovers are sattvic in nature. No, they are not, because those who crave for peace are not necessarily because they are not moving out because they don't wish to get out of the comfort zone. It is so easy. Even a slight change is painful for them, and only when challenged do their true nature gets expressed. So it's somebody, let us say, for instance, says, I'm in I'm very calm, and I was doing that, by the way. Yeah, maybe I can give that example. Yeah, when I was in Singapore for a few years, and before that, I was in UK for many years. And then I mentally prepared myself to return back to India. And I was in the best Satvika state you can think of. I was hoping, I was happy that I was going and moving in the right direction. And here I enter Indian roads, and there isn't a day when I don't kind of scream, or not scream, but at least express my displeasure with anger. And the point I'm trying to say is that when we are nicely in a beautiful bubble, we think we are in a sattvika state. But when we are challenged, that is when our true colors really come out. So I realized that I'm nowhere near that state yet. There's a lot of progress needed. So similarly, those who are in tamasika state, they think that they are in a sattvika state, and they fool themselves basically. I know time is running short. So let me just go through the remaining slides. So the menace of comfort zone, then comfort zone gives a false sense of security, that all is well. And it doesn't allow the person to test the turbulence outside as he or she wishes not to disturb their peace out of fear or anxiety or destabilizing. Unfortunately, there are a few slides which may repeat themselves because I didn't have time yesterday to remove them. So please pardon me if I may skip them if needed. So it is, like in modern days, for instance, our resilience for body pain and sickness is very low now. We immediately take medications if we have a headache and so on. I mean, nothing wrong in it. They're available to use. Why not? But the fact is that we don't allow much time for the headache to go away, and we just immediately resort to taking something. So generally, the resilience is actually a lot lower. Our tolerance to suffering has definitely gone low. So naturally, if you compare that with the tamasika state, it is the same thing. The fears and the inertias and the apathies are really not helping us. And those with spiritual inclination often crave to move towards in search of oneness. But in the process may actually fall into the trap of akarma and a pseudo-sattvika state. And that is something which I would want to kind of highlight, in the sense that we may unknowingly enter into this kind of our de-skill ourselves. We may actually de-skill ourselves. Previously, I would have been courageous to withstand pain and suffering. Courageous to fight adharma. But if I de-skill myself, then I'm actually losing that level of ability to kind of fight my daily battles, particularly on a dharmic front. So this is how I see these things. So peace, in my view, is not a constant, and it is elusive. It is not a constant. What is constant is contentment. The ananda state is more constant, but peace is not. So majority of us, in fact, are actually gunakarma shudras, because we are actually employed. We are a working class. Majority of our time is spent working for the society, for the smooth functioning of the society. But we are somewhere mentally preparing ourselves to move into a state of comfort zone, which doesn't help. So we need to kind of work on these things. So my take is that Kshatriya, Kshatra and Shudra varnas are not being represented well in modern society. There's somehow there's aspiration. There is an aspiration for us to have a Brahmanical outlook in perfecting ourselves towards that pure sattvika state. Fair enough, that is our goal, but the daily battles cannot be kind of fought if we let go of the rajasika guna as well. So I would conclude here with saying that we need to really look at what is it in me that I can do differently. Am I actually kind of responding to situations in the right way? In pursuit of spiritual growth, am I letting go of my material responsibilities? My material responsibilities will need me to be active. And that level of activity would mean I have to perform karma. And if I'm performing karma, the phala, the fruit from it has to be kind of accepted as a consequence. But if I fear that and I stay away from all that, then I believe you may think you're going in a sattvika state, but actually you are ending up in a tamasika, and it only makes things worse for you. You are unlikely to kind of do justice for yourself. Okay, so this is where I'll leave it. I'll just leave it saying the primary job is for us to do the right thing, the dharma. Our spiritual goal is to attain moksha, fair enough. However, for a majority of us, this is an unrealistic goal. I would leave that to the Gunakarma Brahmana, who are possibly 1% of the population. See, there are three good possibilities that we have. One is moksha. You can go to Swarga for a while and then come back, or you can have a Uttama Janma. So if we do the right thing, we are definitely on the fast track to attain moksha. There is no doubt about it. You are not wrong as long as you do the right thing. And that is to follow dharma individually and even collectively. So we should develop the Kshatriya skills. We should have the leadership. We should have critical, clarity in thinking and decision making. And we need to have the courage to do the right thing. All right, I'll stop there. It was a difficult topic for me to even kind of convey to you. I hope I was able to do some justice, but at least made some beginning there. Thank you for patiently listening to it. I'm happy to hear to any other viewpoints.
Yeah, I think sorry, go ahead.
I think you can't separate the gunas, just like you can't separate Adi Yogi from Adi Shakti. It's one and the same. Both are needed for there to be a balance in life. Even if you see all our the gods, all of them have astras in their hands. So they have the yogic things and they've got the Kshatriya things in them as well. So best example I can give is somebody like the Dalai Lama. If you don't have the Kshatriya guna at all, you actually cause harm to your nation, you lose the nation, and you lose the people as well. So you protect the people who you are serving. You need to have the Kshatriya guna as well. You can't just say peace, 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 and all you end up is with pieces with nothing left. Yeah. Tibet is gone now. So the same way we shouldn't lose our nation. So
yeah, I mean, nation is one thing. Nation is an example here. But Sanatana Dharma is for everyone. It's for the world. That is why I did the last two talks where I was saying what's the global responsibility of a Hindu. Wherever we are, whichever part of the world we are in, we should be able to kind of be able to showcase through my own personal experience whether I'm able to lighten the lamp of Sanatana Dharma wherever I am, be the example. But you are right. At least India is a very important example there and a very relevant one in the sense that that is the land which has seen a lot of research. Let's call it spiritual research. A lot of spiritual research has taken in that land uninterrupted for a very, very long time. That is possibly the only place where it has happened uninterrupted. Nowhere else has it been the case.
Yeah, I think the Dalai Lama example, I really like that example. And I don't think it's meant just for India. I think it's for all leaders of all countries on a whole, to think about their own people, their best interests also while thinking about global interests. Not, their spiritual interest, your personal interest, then there's the country interest, and then there's the global interest. So, it's very difficult, I know, but yeah, very, very good, poignant example of how to lead. And this topic is so vast. I'm sure, me personally, I'm pretty new at this. So I know it's difficult to cater to all the different people and their their knowledge base, right? So, but this is a really good attempt.
Thank you.
I like it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks. I mean, my idea is very simple. I want to keep things simple for the world to practice Sanatana Dharma. So, and I think the common Hindu Mitra is also formed on the same principle. So what we do is that we lay the foundation and leave it there, and it is for the individual to build the house on top of it. But the foundation has to be intact. So we believe that if the foundation is not intact, and the foundation is a basic foundation, it is not a complicated foundation. It's a basic foundation which can be kind of practiced or understood by anybody in the world. And yeah, okay. So
yeah, I think no, sorry. No, is there somebody else who wants to speak?
No, I'm just glad to have Seshagiri. Seshagiri, please. Last time you didn't say anything. Are you here?
Yes, Swami, I'm here.
Yes, good to see you. It's quite late in Singapore. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's almost 11:45. I'm doing good, Swami.
So give your words of wisdom.
Swami, I'm here to listen and learn. That is my word of wisdom now.
Sheshagiri has done an excellent series on Visishta Advaita a long time back. So he's a great asset to have, and we should learn from him for sure. Yeah, Sheshagiri, do you have anything to say about what we should consider as the importance of Kshatra?
So, I mean, you already told very wonderfully. Just one small thing I heard from Shatavadani Ganesh, this particular aspect.
Yeah.
I just narrate the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is about Subramanya or Kartikeya that we call.
Yeah.
He, in South India, he has two wives. Okay, in South Indian legends and communities, he has two wives. One is called Valli, another one is called Devasena. Whereas in North India, Kartikeya is a bachelor.
Okay.
And in South India, Pullayar or Ganesha or Vinayaka is a bachelor. Whereas in Maharashtra, in North India, he is a Grihastha. He has two wives, Siddhi and Buddhi. The names change, but he has two wives.
Yeah.
So, what does it mean? Why is this confusion? So, Shatavadani Ganesh was explaining this about Kartikeya once. So, I'll just explain that part.
Yeah.
So, here, Subramanya or Brahmanya or Brahma. So, he represents, he is the Adipati or he is the Lord of Gnana or Brahma part. So, how to say that is by saying he is a Lord or Pati of Valli. We would have heard in Vedas there is Brugvalli, right? There are a lot of Vallis there. Valli means knowledge part of the Veda.
Okay.
So here now we are saying he is Valli Pati, means he is the husband or Pati of Valli, means he lords over the knowledge or Brahma part. Does it mean good only in knowledge part? No, he is Devasenapati. There are two ways to understand it. One is he is the commander-in-chief or the army chief of Devas army. So Devasena is a feminine gender, actually, word. So it can mean it's a girl whom he got married. That is one way of understanding. The other way of understanding is he is the lord of Devasena's army. So Kshatriya, he is the lord of Kshatriya also. So Subramanya or Kartikeya represents the amalgamation of Brahma and Kshatriya. Without any one of them, it is impossible to stay in the path. So Subramanya represents that. That is the reason he is called Vallipati and Devasenapati. So here the Kshatriya is given a Murta form of a feminine form of Devasena, and the knowledge part is given a Murta form as Valli. So he is the Pati of both of them. So if a society is not having this Subramanya stages or Kartikeya stages of having both of them intertwined, then it cannot sustain for a long term and it will wither away.
Okay, all right. Point
So,
noted. Yeah.
without the guidance of Brahma, Kshatriya will be causing humongous pain and nonsense in the world. We have seen it in the Kartaviryajuna's case. What happened eventually, Parashurama had to take control. And without the Kshatriya, we see the Brahma cannot sustain and it keeps going down again and again.
Okay, yeah.
Unless we have some people like Vashishta, who just by their Brahma Tejas can withstand everything. That is not the case with most of the Brahmins or most of the knowledgeable people now. We cannot sustain our Tejas.
Yeah.
So we need. Sorry for dragging it.
No. Thank you. Thanks. That's. I mean, these things are helpful because those references to the scriptural references are helpful. Yeah. Thanks. All right. So, anybody else? Any last comments before we close for today?
One statement you made towards the end of your lecture, that spiritual growth, our pursuit in spiritual growth tends to make us think we are sattvic.
Sorry, am I losing you or am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, Swami.
Okay.
Her line is
her audio is bad.
Oh, okay. All right. So, Anupanaji, your audio is not clear. So maybe you can type in the chat box.
Okay, I'll do that.
Now we can hear you. Go ahead quickly before we lose you.
No, I just said that your closing statement, that our pursuit towards spiritual growth, we tend to think we are sattvic, but slowly we are actually becoming tamasic. And that is very introspective. I said, thank you.
Sure. Thanks. I mean,
that is very introspective.
Yeah, my observation is that it's a trap. It's a trap, and Maya is the cause for all those traps, right? So we need to be careful.
Yes. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much once again for joining today, and I hope Harinanta, right? Sorry, your name is Harinanta.
Yeah, you can call me Hari.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining. I've made note of your number. I'll add you in the group so you can receive future kind of link, event information.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. All right. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkhabad bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. All right. See you all then. Thank you so much. Namaste.
It was nice hearing you, sir, after a long time.
Yes. See you then. Bye.
Good night.